and welcome to the DIY Photo Organizing Podcast, focusing on topics to help you with your photo management. I'm Chantal from Photos in Order.
And I'm Fiona from Photo Helper. Hey, Chantal.
Hi there. Long time no see.
I know. Welcome back.
Yeah, likewise.
It's been great to have a holiday, but I definitely must say I have missed our podcast recordings.
Absolutely. I know. It's been a long time actually.
It has. I know. We've been off having too much fun with our families and adding way too many photos to our photo libraries. How about you?
Absolutely. I'm still working on them. I've got them all gathered and I've culled them, thrown out a lot, at least 50%.
Oh, wow.
I'm still adding keywords and whatnot. Do all the metadata thing because, I've been away for 2 months, so that's a lot of photos.
Just a few. Are you game to share? How many? Do you know?
That's a good question. I think it's about 2,000.
That's the culled version?
That's the culled version. However, I have to say that includes a 3-week road trip in France and 5 days in Italy and 10 days in a lovely place in Switzerland. So, an actual trip. It was not just catching up with family. That would be far fewer photos, plus a wedding on top. We had.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, that explains the amount of photos.
Oh, and you know what? The beautiful thing is that there is no right or wrong amount of photos. You can never, it's always such a personal thing. So I think it's great.
How about you?
Yeah, we had a fabulous time away as well. I've got lots of photos of grandchildren, and hubby and I had a wonderful time. It was great. And I was sort of I think I was more cautious in my taking of the photos this time, knowing that I was going to have to cull them out or even not cull, but necessarily just, choosing those favorites. And so I found this time around on this trip that I actually did that on the spot. So if I knew that the kids were playing in the pool and I took, 15 photos right there and then, I selected my 3 favorites.
Yeah. Did you delete the rest then?
I didn't because I have some projects in mind.
Right.
To use them for them for that reason. Yeah. So and I think it was because it was the first time we'd met our youngest little one, who's 2. It's like every photo I'm keeping, every single one.
You sound just like our clients.
I know. which is all good.
We should make an episode about that. Separate one, because actually today we're not here for that.
Exactly. I know. We could talk for another hour, whereas we have a really detailed episode that we've just recorded.
Yes.
that we're going to share with our listeners. So you're absolutely right. I think we might have a look at that another time as well. That's a great idea. But let's jump into what we have installed for today. So now that we've done our introduction, we've just done our welcome back to all of our lovely listeners that we have missed you guys. We have a great episode in store for you. So we are going to be talking with Caden from SmugMug. So without any further delay, let's jump into our episode today. And we would love to share with you. Just be aware, it's a longer episode. We do go into some detail, and I think it's really helpful. So stick with us, fast forward bits, rewind bits that you want to listen to again, but enjoy this interview with Caden from SmugMug. All right, so today we are excited to be joined by a very special guest, someone, Chantal, that we have really looked forward to having on the podcast, haven't we?
Absolutely, for a long time.
I know, because we've talked about it a lot. So today we are joined by Caden Carlson from SmugMug, which is fabulous. So our regular listeners will definitely know that we have talked about SmugMug a lot in the past, and it's a fabulous tool for sharing family photos. So today we're going to learn about sort of how it works, some of the options, and just give you a really good understanding of how you might be able to apply this and give it a try. So welcome, Caden.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
That's great. So it is, yes. Welcome. So before we jump in, I'm just going to have a quick, just tell you guys a little bit about Caden, and then we have some fabulous questions to ask you. So Caden originally hails from the sunny Santa Cruz area in California, and has been a passionate advocate for the photography industry for more than a decade. Professionally, Caden has been supporting and working with professional photo organisers and photographers on best practice and workflows for managing their photos and their videos using the SmugMug platform. So before we jump in, there's something, we'll talk about this through the episode today. But if you're looking at trying out SmugMug, if you haven't done that before, we do have a 25% off for the first year if you want to give that a try. So we'll talk about that at the end, and pop some links and things like that in the show notes. So welcome, Caden. As we said before, I'm going to jump in and ask you the first question. If you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe even what got you started even working in this whole area of photos.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to. So photography, I was always drawn to photography as just a creative medium. But when I was younger, about 15 years ago now, I was invited on a private trip down the Grand Canyon, a rafting trip. And for those that don't know, it's a really special experience. So I highly recommend it. And this was a private trip. It was 23 days down the Grand Canyon.
Wow.
And I knew that in order to capture that memory and that experience, that I needed a better camera.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought myself a Nikon D40X, and with the little kit lens. And it was, I'm just fresh out of high school, really, at this point. And I went on that trip and I captured some amazing photos that I still look back on fondly today. And then I came back and I was like, well, that was a really expensive purchase. I need to probably figure out how to make some money with this thing. And so I actually went out searching for platforms and services that could help me do that. And I came across SmugMug. I was actually a user of SmugMug on their pro platform for several years before joining the support team, and where I supported all of the customers throughout the platform, being on the Support Heroes team. And then I moved to the account management, where I've been working with our top producing pros and different types of photographers and companies. And at that point is when I got introduced to the professional photo organizers. Since then, I've met dozens of amazing photo organizers in all different phases of their business.
So I think it's great when you've already been a user of a platform, you personally, and then being able to get into sort of the nuts and bolts of the workings of it, and it just gives you a really good rounded experience, obviously. And then into that account management of stuff. So let's talk SmugMug. Let's talk about one of the things I think Chantel, you and I were talking about before, having Caden on as a guest, is just the way that we've used SmugMug. Mm-hmm. You use it yourself, don't you? Can you just tell us how do you use SmugMug yourself?
Well, for my personal family collection, I use Lightroom Classic to manage all my photos, to add metadata, to cull them and whatnot. And then I share them to SmugMug, to my SmugMug account, which is really easy to do. And the reason I do that is so that my other family members can see the photos, so to share the photos. Plus, an added bonus, of course, is that it's an additional backup, really, as well. But it's also having access to the collection on my phone. I found that really handy because, of course, it comes with a phone app as well. And now I've got access to my entire collection. I can search for photos. I really like it, and it's easy to set up and to use. And I always recommend to clients to use SmugMug exactly as that, as a sharing tool. And because it's easy, and because it does all the things it does in a really good way. For example, it doesn't, strip my keywords off the photos, so I can still search for my photos, and I really like those things about it. Yeah.
Yes, true. I think, and so I think when we're talking to to Caden, I think there's a lot of features with SmugMug, and I think for the best for you listening, for our lovely listeners, we have, I think, as far as when you're looking at your own way to utilize that, if we sort of think about it like the package at the end, it's so you've sort of done all your organizing, all of the different things that we've talked about through different episodes in the podcast. And I think the way that we'll talk to Caden now about SmugMug will really be through that packaging at the end of that process. So, Caden, if you can just sort of share a little bit about how that works.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, packaging at the end. I think you summed it up really well there. A package at the end, meaning, at least from my perspective, of you've done the majority of your organizing already. You've spent the time on your computer to create folder structures, hierarchies. You've organized things already, because our platform is, we have many different uploaders, from an uploader that's built into your browser, which most people use. That's the most common use case. But there's also, you can upload through your iPhone, through dedicated apps on both Windows and Mac operating systems. And then there's even the ability to have guests upload through into your own galleries by just creating a guest upload link. So we understand the importance of being able to easily get your photos onto the platform. And so the more you can do on your computer ahead of time of organizing your photos and getting that into that structure, you'll be able to leverage a feature that we have called folder uploading. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It allows you to select a folder rather than selecting image files. And that folder can contain a series of other folders, like subfolders and subfolders. It could even go down to subfolders with up to 6 levels deep. So you can really have a very complex hierarchy. But with the folder uploading feature, you can then select that top parent folder, that top level folder, and SmugMug will automatically, I've been trying to coin that word around, automatically create the necessary SmugMug folders, SmugMug galleries, and upload the photos. So, your listeners are likely either at the beginning, at the end, or in the middle of what could be a pretty big organizing process, with their own personal stuff. And it's not to say that SmugMug, if you feel super creative and inspired to just jump on in and start using our platform, by all means, absolutely, give it a whirl. We have a free 2-week trial for anyone that wants to try it. But with your content and having lots of it, you'll find a lot of value, and the process of getting things set up will be a lot smoother when you have all of your content uploaded and in the organization that you're already familiar with, which should be from what you have on your operating system there.
Perfect. Okay, so hence that sort of packaging at the end. So we talk about the organizing and things like that, and through different episodes that we've talked about that organizing, that can look different for everybody. So people may have, this is my family archive, then this is this year, then this year, then this year, and they're all in order, and they've got those subfolders. And then they've got their subsequent, next level down, which could be different events within a year. Mm-hmm. But also, if the idea is that maybe the deduplication's been done, and they know that these are their photos and they've got a folder with everything in that folder, then that's also, it's just really that packaging at the end. It's get some of that work, heavy lifting work of the organizing done first, and then do an upload, is what you're saying in this sort of a situation might be
I think
a
if
good
if you have several thousand photos you're working with, or a lot, and I think that's a good approach. If we're just talking a couple of hundred images or something smaller, by all means jump right in. But with speaking to photo organizers, in what I've learned over the years is, for sure, you want to take care of that structure first, because so much of it is the culling and the getting rid of, and then the applying metadata. And there's these layers of processes, and you want your files done, because when you upload to SmugMug, the file you upload is referred to as the original. And we can take massive, massive files, up to 500 megabytes when it comes to JPEGs, or 4 gigapixels. So anybody that out there listening that's like passionate about stitching together, a picture of the universe, where you're creating really, really large files. And look, there's no cameras that'll capture that by itself, but if you're stitching together, we'll take them. You know what I mean? So, we don't have any limits on all of our account levels also. So
that is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there are some limits that are built into the galleries in order to allow them to continue to function quickly. But that's still very generous at 5,000 different media files per gallery. So, but to what we were speaking to earlier, using galleries, and on SmugMug, I should speak to, galleries are where you upload your images and your media files. We also have folders, and folders are used to create categories and organization. But if we think about a hierarchy or a folder structure, a gallery will always be at the end. So another way since also all SmugMug accounts come with photo sites, because there's the back end of your account in which you manage and upload photos and manipulate metadata and choose what you're going to share, all of that. But then there's also a photo site element in which can be customized, and you can send links to, and people can visit and put comments onto and explore, and you have control over how that looks and feels.
Yeah, it's that end package, which is fantastic. And I think being able to understand just that flexibility that it has, and everyone, whether they're organized ahead of time or they've just sort of, they're happy with what they've got, which is taken, the duplicates are removed. Either way, they can upload that structure that they've already got on their computer, and then go from there and start sort of really using the SmugMug account to its best ability.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So once someone's, say, uploaded their folder structure, and they've done that, like you said, that's Windows or Mac, which is great. How then is it, like, how easy is it to maintain, like, and sort of add new photos in or something like that?
Yeah, so when you're logged into your SmugMug account, it's incredibly easy, because at the very top there's an upload button. And the upload button will give you 3 options. The first is into a brand new gallery. So you can create brand new galleries right from anywhere on your site, pretty much. And that would be, any new event that you're doing, or something, something that took place that you're putting new photos into. You can also upload into an existing gallery. So something that's already out there that you've made, maybe you've prepped it already. And then there's the folder uploading, which we just spoke about. And that's where, instead of selecting media to upload, you select a folder, and then it does all the heavy lifting there for you. So it's incredibly easy. Most of this work, when I'm on my account, I do it mostly from the organizer, because there's also a create button in there. That's where I can select my parent folders, in which I'm going to then maybe nest another folder or another gallery into that. So that's usually how I approach it. But like I said, from the global navigation menu, there's an upload button, and you can get in anyways.
There's all those options. So, I mean, if someone's got their organization done, and say they're Like right now, we're recording in August of 2022. So anyone listening back to this can have a little giggle about how long ago this was recorded. But for us, this is the current month. So just say, we're in a maintenance mode and someone is able to, they're finishing the month of August and they've got rid of the photos that they don't want and their screenshots on their phone or whatever, then they can either just upload the photos then straight into the gallery that is just their one sort of bucket of photos, or they can have a folder which is then their next month in the year of 2022 of August, and then they're done for the month of August.
That's absolutely correct. Yeah. And what you just described is actually kind of manually doing it. There is the ability, I should mention, through the SmugMug app on both Android and iOS to enable automatic uploads. And enabling automatic uploads, it'll only do the photos, it won't do the videos on your phone, but that will automatically upload the photos in your phone library to a folder on your SmugMug account called either Android or iOS automatic upload. And it will also automatically create the folders and the galleries in the structure that you just described of year and then month for you. And it's all put up private by default, because we assume that the stuff on your phone is stuff that you might not want shown right out of the gate. At that point, once it's added to your account automatically, then from the organizer, it's really easy to drag and drop or create copies or collected versions to put into maybe a more purpose-built sharing gallery, maybe like an example of having your kids, something that a gallery that's designed to be somewhere where grandma checks in every once in a while, and you update that one with more photos so that she can keep up on the kids, where you would drag those from your automatic upload into a purpose-built one. So we take care of some of that automatic the phone backup stuff for you already.
That's fantastic. Yeah, and that's where the flexibility, I think, of the program of SmugMug has been so great, hasn't it, Chantel? With our own experiences, and then also people that we work with clients, and people that have their family photos and archives, because it really has a lot of flexibility.
It has. Now, you were touching on something. It's obviously in the cloud. And a lot of clients are a bit worried about the cloud because they feel like it's not safe. It's not, other people can possibly access their information or their photos. So can you tell us a bit more about all the security features and the privacy settings and so on, because this is a big issue for a lot of people. They want their stuff to be private.
Absolutely. And that's one of our brand values too. We're a private company. We just celebrated 21 years. So we've never answered to venture capitalists or Wall Street in order to do that. We've always answered to our customers. And we take privacy really, really really seriously. So when it comes to privacy, for this listening audience, what I would recommend is you're going to want to access, start from your account settings, start from the top level and go into the security and sharing options and turn off like the ability for Google to crawl the account. Because SmugMug at its core, we're a platform that's been designed for photographers by photographers. But there's a lot of if we think of the Venn diagram, there's a lot of crossover between photo organizers and photographers, right? Most of it has to do with the organizing of photos. And so with that, a lot of our settings out of the box are designed for photographers. And photographers that are looking to run a business. So for photo organizers, whether you're professional or it's personal, and you're going to be your own family site, your own personal archive, your project, you're going to want to start in your account settings and just turn off some of those search and visibility options to prevent Google from crawling your site and keeping things more private. Now, if we think about it from a top-down view, your account settings trickle down to everything else inside your site. Now, you could also put maybe a password at the top level, and we've all been to websites where you land on the home page, you have to put in a password, and then after that, you can then see beyond that password. So that's an option. I know a lot of photo organizers set that up for their clients, but then there's also other ways to do it as well. But what I want to emphasize is that the security and sharing options are built at every level. So you have your account settings, you have folder settings, you have gallery settings, and then there's even photo settings. If we at some level too, you can hide an individual photo or choose to do specific things with individual photos within a gallery. But understanding the security and sharing features or and the access settings. So those are the ones, and you're going to find those in the first two tabs of either folders or galleries. And the main ones are the visibility and the access settings. I'll talk first of the visibility. So on SmugMug, again, I referenced earlier that you have a photo site. All accounts have a photo site. And that's, again, think of that as your public portal into your images. And as an account holder, you can also choose to put what it is that's shown on your photo site. And so with that, you choose and you set that up using visibility and access settings. So visibility settings would be, is the gallery visible? And your options are public, which means it can be seen. If you've customized your site in order to show that content, a public gallery or folder will be seen. There's something unlisted, which is anyone familiar with YouTube has made maybe unlisted videos, which means it can be seen only if with a direct link. It's the same thing on SmugMug, where you as the account owner must provide the correct link to someone in order for them to access that folder, gallery, or page. And then the next one, and the most secure setting, would be private. Now, anything private can only be seen and accessed by the logged in account owner. So you can never share private content, but it's as easy as just flipping a little toggle switch to move a gallery from one to another to any of the others. So the next one is access settings. So visibility and access, they work together. So you can have something that's public, but password protected. So you can see your visitors to your site can see the content, but can see, let's say, the door to the content, the thumbnail, really. And when they click on that, then they're prompted to put in the correct password, and then they can access that. So that's a very common use case too, especially with individuals that might have different wings to the family, or you have certain groupings of photos that are only accessible to certain people, maybe just for the setting up phase or whatever. But applying a password is one option. And then there's also a third one, which is people I choose. And it may seem like the right one because it feels very secure, and it is very secure. It's actually the most secure. But understand that using the people I choose option, what it does is it prompts whomever you invite, and you invite them via email, to create a free view-only SmugMug account. And that's great if you wanted to share just with them and that one little piece of content. But sometimes that can add a barrier of entry, especially working with maybe like my mom, for example. Me inviting my mom to using the people I choose option is too many steps for her. What's a lot easier is for her to maybe just put in a password. And so I would use that option of people with password. And I was like, hey, mom, just use the password, Caden Rocks, and you'll get through. Right. And then that's really easy for her.
So can I just ask, in a situation where you've got either the people I choose or the password. Now I get the difference there as far as the email address or just a password. And I think that password has, that, like you said, that exact example is perfect. So would you then do the people I choose or the password that sits off?
There is a third option. The third option would be just anyone, essentially. So if it's a public item, and they click it, they can go inside, no password required, no confirmation required. And then the next one would be password, and then the next one would be people I choose.
So, and so each of those three options for the access sit off the different visibility that you've chosen. So if you have an unlisted, is it just the link, or can I also do a password on that unlisted?
Absolutely. You can do a password on an unlisted.
Or
so
you
they
can
work
do it
together.
anyway.
Yeah. It's a mix and match,
Right.
except for private, because private, you don't need to put a password on it because nobody's going to access it, because it's just for you, the logged in account owner. But between public and unlisted, you can mix and match all of the privacy
Is it
settings.
the access ones with those three options?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. That has cleared up so many questions that I've had. That's a really great explanation of those settings, because I think that is the thing with SmugMug. It's got so many options, and I think for people listening, just to understand that, if I'm hearing you correctly, a really good way to share, like you said with your mum and the Caden Rocks password, is to perhaps for our privacy and security, to feel safe by setting up, if they're really just wanting to maybe share with other family members as their main goal, is to not have it listed as public, to have it as an unlisted, because they do want to share with other people and then give them that link.
For your user, I would advise to put a single password at the account level.
Okay.
And then everything is public, because then you only share the password with that small group, right? The family, those who are intended to view it. They know the password, which could be the old family home, or the dog, or something that everybody in the family knows. And you just put that password in once, and then they need to be able to see the stuff. Because if you put it in, another analogy I use for unlisted is invisible. So if you have a hierarchy of content and it's all unlisted, well, it's actually invisible on the site to anyone that's coming to it. And so they won't be able to see it unless you provide them links to everything. So unless everything lives under just one gallery, which is not a good practice, right? We want to leverage folders, we want to leverage galleries, create organized structure, and we know how things are going to be found. You're going to want those things to be, if you want them to be viewed by other family members or people in that view your photo site, they need to be public so that they're visible. And this is why I said in the beginning, in the account settings, if you prevent, for example, Google from being able to crawl the site and all that, then your little corner on the web, your SmugMug URL, nobody knows it exists unless you tell people it exists, right? Because Google's not going to find it. It's not on any search engine. It's not being crawled. So yeah, that's your key, is your username. And you can use a custom domain too. Anybody out there that's going to create, like, the Carlson family, that's my last name, right? If the carlsonfamily.com, I could, if it was available, have that domain, set it up, link it to my SmugMug account, and then share that with anyone in my family. And then the workflow I would suggest would be you put the password at the account settings level, and anyone that needs to see it can see inside. Everything inside is public, but know that you can make one little folder unlisted or this other one private if you need to. You can toggle those. It doesn't all have to be the same. And go that way. That would be my suggestion for that use case.
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
As a photo organizer,
Yep.
Professionally working, and if you have a SmugMug account in which you're managing and working with clients, then an unlisted folder with all your client stuff is the way to go. But then the content within that would be public, so that you can send your client a link to the folder, and then they get to see everything inside, but nobody else gets to see inside the folder because the folder's invisible.
Yeah.
Right. So think about it. Another way to think about it is the door. Like, is it an invisible door or is it a visible door? Can you walk through it, or do you need that special link to get teleported through the other side? I don't know if my analogies work, but that's what I'm going for.
Can I ask, you touched on something before. The people you share the photos with through SmugMug, do they need their own SmugMug account?
No,
No.
they don't. I mean, if you there's the setting within the privacy settings of specifically called people I choose.
Mm-hmm.
That one, if you invite them, they're invited. They have to create a SmugMug account, but it's a view only.
Yeah.
So all they see is the stuff that you've shared directly with them. That's it. But they have to log into that. But I would say probably 95% of our users' content is viewed in a browser on their photo site.
Yeah.
And through their photo site, and that's how it's mostly taken in.
Okay. I can totally relate to what you said about Mum before. It's too hard with the, inviting the people via emails. I can totally see how this is too hard for most people, to be honest. So I rather like the unlinked, because that doesn't require those extra hoops to go through.
But it's good to know that when you need those hoops, they're there. Like,
yes,
for certain photographers, certain types of content, it's good to know that, like, it's only me as the account holder, and I'm ensured that just the person at the end of this email is the one that's going to see this, right? Because a password could, in theory, be guessed or passed around or whatever. So that's why that feature exists, is to make sure that when you need it, it's there.
Talking about all those different ways to share within a family, the way I do it with but that's only my closest family. So basically my husband, the kids are not interested. He installed the SmugMug app on his phone and logged in with my account, so he can see and access the whole account. So he doesn't, he's like me, so we basically share the account, but I do that only because I know he's not going to touch anything. He's not going to delete stuff or whatever. It just sits there. So that's another way. But obviously, because you share the login, that might not be the best way.
Well, and that's the other reason to use public too, is that anyone can download the SmugMug apps. And you are able to find an account on the app, even without an account. And so if your structure, your hierarchy is put together, and let's say you have a password at the top level, it will ask you for that password if you're following a family member. So let's say Chantal, you've put together your whole structure, but you want to tell your kids, doesn't matter, you need to download this app and you need to go look at these photos. They can find you without having their own account and follow your account if your privacy settings are set up to allow that stuff to be visible.
Okay. Yeah. It's complex.
And I should also mention there's the SmugMug Android TV and Apple TV apps. So if you have Apple TV devices, most of us have pretty big screens now. TVs are pretty cheap, so it's pretty impressive when you can pull up your really nice photos on your big screen. So I highly recommend, if you own an Apple TV, go check out that our app on there as well.
Great. And I think that's why it works, the SmugMug works so well as that packaging at the end, because, which brings us to this question about viewing and sharing. Actually, we've been talking about sharing, but that's what I love about SmugMug, and we've talked about this through a number of episodes. It's like you've got this gorgeous organized photo library, and how do you share it? How, that's the purpose. We're always talking about our goals. What's our reason why we're doing this? Why do we want to see those photos of rafting down the Grand Canyon? You're like, why? It's because they bring back such beautiful memories, and so to be able to view them easily and share them with those that we want to share them with, and if it's on some big screen on the TV or something like that, then that is even better. But can you just talk to us about so let's just say, okay, we're at the TV or we're on our computers, and we've been able to access now. We know that we're safe with our photos. We've decided what option we're going to go with. And I'm now sitting there with this access to this, I don't know, 10,000 photos or something across 2 different galleries, understanding that we've got a limit of the 5,000 in a gallery. How can we access either, we've talked about metadata in previous episodes. Like, where's that richness and that ability to be able to search for a photo that we want to find?
Yeah. It's accessible throughout your entire account. There's a library module. So there's a couple of modules when you have your account that are accessible. We spoke earlier about the organizer, which I would equate to your SmugMug hard drive, where you can, at a glance access and create new folders, galleries, all that drag and drop activity. But then there's also the library module, where you would jump in and there's a search bar up there, and you're able to search all of your media throughout the entire account. And you'll get results for galleries and photos and videos for anything matching based off of title, caption, or keyword. And so I should also mention that when there are lots of photo editing platforms out there, Lightroom and Apple Photos, and, I don't think Aperture is still around actually, but, lots of ways that you can add metadata to your photos before putting on SmugMug. So I always recommend that as a first step too, is to put as much metadata you can into your images before uploading, so that the photo that you upload, the original that you bring up, is going to have all that information in there. And then with that information in there, again, using the library feature, you're able to search all of that, get results for it. And so the library feature, that's available to you as the logged in account owner. I've helped dozens of photo managers set up accounts in which they also built a search feature on the photo site, in which their clients and their family and users of the client are able to then use that search box on the photo site to search all of the content as well. Because normal site visitors, ones that are not logged into the account, they don't have access to the library feature. That's an account owner feature. So bringing that same search functionality out of library into the front end, or where onto the photo site, is done through our customization tools. And those results will return the same thing. You can get photos, videos, galleries, and folders, all based off of the results that you put in. I also want to mention, in that same vein, and this is actually new to me, I learned this today. So a couple of months ago, actually, no, it's probably been a year. COVID makes time warp. It's probably been closer to a year, but we launched SmugMug Source. Now, SmugMug Source is our our platform, or our solution for uploading raw files. But also, and a lot of your users may or may not know what raw files are. Raw files are the really big, they're files that are full of information that photographers use to get the maximum amount of info when they're editing and working with files. A lot of our iPhones and our Androids and stuff now will capture in RAW as well.
Yes, yeah.
But raw file is the most maximum, highest quality file that you're able to obtain. And until we had SmugMug Source, you were unable to upload raw files to SmugMug. It was just JPEGs. You can now upload raw files. But the point I want to emphasize is SmugMug Source users gain the access to image analysis. And this is only part of the Source subscription. And image analysis will, upon upload, analyze the photo and pull out the dogs and the people and the common places and all of that, and add that rich information into your photos, so that when you leverage search, those things, those images also come back as results. So it'll do a lot of the thinking for you. So even if you're not interested in uploading raw files, or you don't capture raw files, SmugMug Source is available to all account levels on SmugMug, and it's a base cost of, it would be $3 a month for that additional feature there of the image analysis. So I would highly recommend it for anyone that's got a varying catalog of, lots of vacations or different time periods or different things in there where you really want a computer to look at it and be like, tell me all the things that are in here so that when I'm ready to find this, in a couple of years or down the road, I can just put in something related to it and it's going to show up.
And it's going to come up. Yeah.
And it'll show up.
Gotta love some of those AI type things. They're amazing. Yeah. Oh, that's
really
great. Cool. I didn't know that. That's fantastic. Good to know.
I know. I learned that too.
Yeah. And you work there.
Well, we're always coming out with new stuff. Really. I mean, we are. We've got a team ready, just rolling new things out left and right. So
yeah, that's
not
great.
uncommon to be a little behind around here. Just a little.
There's only so much you can keep up with. Now, before we sort of wrap up, and I just want to talk about some other things as far as some video links and stuff like that. But I just want to step back. One thing you just mentioned before was about the customization to get the search on the photo level, and I think that is something that is going to be, an option that most people would want to be able to offer to their families, say, that are looking at their photos. Is that something to go into now? Is that something we can maybe put in the show notes as to how to do that without getting too techie? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's honestly, I'd encourage anyone to really just get started with a trial account. And we've got some great onboarding helpies that will show you around. And we have an incredible help resource center. So what we're referring to is a customization. Right. And so on SmugMug, you enter what we call the customizer, and in which you drag and drop what we call content blocks, but a lot of people might be familiar with the term widget. Mm-hmm. And these are the different little elements that you put onto the website. So it's a WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. You kind of drag it onto the page and you adjust things. So we can quickly talk through it. In order to efficiently add the search content block to a SmugMug photo site, you're going to want to be on the power account level at minimum. I would not recommend being on the basic account level because your customization is limited to the home page only. Mm-hmm. And you're going to want to customize the entire site, and that's getting into the weeds. But my recommendation is for those that are looking to add a search feature on their photo site to, and this is 99% of the time, I bet for your listeners, it will be a power account level. Yep. If there's anyone out there that has an archive of photos in which they wish to maybe sell, and I've come across that with photo managers where it's, a certain individual, their father was an old timer photographer that covered things between a certain era. And these are like, old family heirlooms, and they want to start, raising funds around something or whatever. SmugMug is a platform for pro photographers and does have the ability to easily, enable a print store to take those photos and market them and sell them as well. But for most of the time, if it's just a personal use case, you're going to be looking at that power account level. And also you'll need that to add that search content block.
Okay, perfect. So that's a great opportunity for us to just sort of remind our lovely listeners about the 25% off that you're offering.
25% off. Yeah, I put this together a little while ago. I'm super excited. I got it approved by the higher ups. 25% off any new account for your listeners. That'll be for the first year on the account, but also know that we've got a referral program built into every single account. And so anybody that you bring over to SmugMug, you'll also earn 20% of whatever account level they sign up for. So, we've got a couple dozen photographers or account holders, I should say, that are likely never going to pay for their SmugMug account ever again because they tell people how great it is.
That's always good. Always good when you love something. So we'll put that link to that discount in the show notes. That's great. All right. Now, there's a lot of information that we've given people today, which is great. And I think that, we really appreciate your time, Caden, to be able to go through this stuff, because it is very detailed. But I think it's so, so important to be able to really, view the hard work that people have done with organizing their photos. And it's just a beautiful option, I think, for people to look at. Now, you have a YouTube channel with some how-tos and things. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
We've got a YouTube channel full of a lot of things. In fact, we're on all the social medias. You guys can find us at SmugMug on all of those, see some great shots and see what we're up to. But yeah, our YouTube channel is popping off lately. I've been building a new playlist called How to SmugMug, where you're going to find a bunch of different videos. My aim is always to have them under 5 minutes, covering different aspects of the platform in different ways. And I'd love to encourage people to go check out our SmugMug's films page as well, which is where you'll find some breathtaking films that feature different photographers from all around the world that do all different types of photography. And you kind of get a day in the life of, a nature photographer or a sports car photographer or an aeronautics photographer, lots of different types. I highly recommend you guys go check out those videos as well, because they're beautiful, they're breathtaking, and we put a lot of time and energy into them.
Wonderful.
That's great. So good. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It really has been just great to be able to dive into some of the detail, not just do a surface level. This is a great app. And look, I really hope that this has given our listeners an opportunity to just give it a try and see if it might work for them and their family sort of setup and situation. Before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to talk about? Maybe how people can get some support if they need it or anything like that on the app?
Yeah, I'd love to. We're run by we've got an awesome team of SmugMug support heroes, which are available around the clock. We've got about 30 of those all around the world. Most of them were customers first. And we've got around the clock email support. All you got to do is send an email to help@smugmug.com, explain a little bit of detail as to what it is you're trying to do. You'd be like, hey, saw Caden on a podcast. He was talking about adding that search content block so that my site visitors can find all my stuff. Can you help me with that? They would be absolutely happy to do so. You just kind of let them know what it is you're wanting to do. And there's also a live chat feature while you're on trial. Anyone that's in trial, that feature does carry over to our portfolio and pro account holders. But while you're giving SmugMug a try, you also have access to the live chat feature. And then I'd also love to invite anyone listening to one of our webinars. If you do end up signing up for SmugMug, whether it be a trial or as a paid customer, you will be at some point invited to a webinar that I actually host and write and produce. And I'd love to see you guys there. You can ask your questions there as well. And if you want to reach out to me professionally, feel free to find me on LinkedIn.
Thanks so much for coming in. It's been a while since we've done an outro of what it is to wrap up. You lead the way.
Okay, so we've already mentioned all the show note links. So today you will find a few links in there concerning SmugMug, of course, but you will also find our usual link as to how to sign up for our newsletter, because we send out a quick newsletter for every episode. So we do invite you to sign up so that you never miss an episode again. There's a lot of new stuff coming. As you know, we've had that little break, but we're back on board and we've got heaps of ideas and we'll share new stuff very soon. So also don't forget the wish list. We do invite you to share your wishes, topics or questions that you have, anything photo related. And if we don't know the answer, we'll invite a guest, like Caden was the guest today. He's the pro with SmugMug. So don't be shy and share your wishes. And again, you will find that link in the show notes to get to a little questionnaire that you can fill in. And of course, always feedback and reviews are more than welcome. Just get in touch with us, and don't forget all the courses that we've also got on our website. That's a lot of information.
It is.
Just check it out. If you go to the website, you'll find all that information we just talked about. And that's it for today. So I'm Chantal from Photos in Order, and thanks again, Caden, for being here.
Thank you.
And I am Fiona from Photo Helper. So yeah, it's just as we wrap up, a huge thank you, Caden. It really has been such a pleasure to be able to have a chat and just capture the details that really SmugMug have to offer. So again, all those details will be in the show notes. Thank you so much. And thanks for tuning in, our lovely listeners. And as always, happy photo organising.